Greg from the Yukon. Merry Christmas. One of my favorite axes is this Wetterlings axe, and it's a 3/4 axe. And as my friend and teacher Mr. Kohansky taught us, is that it's really nice to have the length, nice little handy length of about 28 inches, 26 inches or so. And then that's a very handy piece of equipment, light enough to have with you when you need it. And when you're doing wilderness work, another thing you like to have with you for bear protection, getting meat, is a rifle. And even my carbines are a little bit longer, quite a bit longer than that. But this isn't. This is the new, in Canada, Rossi Ranch Hand. And here in Canada, this is considered a carbine. It's a Winchester 92 clone with the great little 2 locking lugs. And this one is a .44 Magnum, which is one of my favorite calibers. I have a Ruger carbine in this same caliber, and I found it to be very effective right up to moose, up to about 125 yards. So I thought I'd buy one of these, and 4 pounds, very, very light, 24 inches long, very easy to stow. I'm happy with it in some ways, and I'm disappointed in other ways. I originally thought you would be able to cheek weld it and then have that point of contact here so that you're able to stabilize your sight picture and shoot it almost as handily as a rifle. What I'm finding is that the recoil is vigorous enough that you know, you're actually getting quite a shot in your nose with your hand, and it's not for the faint-hearted to do that in .44 Magnum with full power loads. So that's the reason that I have on order a full-length stock from Texas for the Rossi 92, which I'm going to put on with a recoil pad, set it up for my son to use. That'll be just a little short for me. The whole family then will be able to use this little rifle. My other disappointment is the sights on this firearm. And this is talked about in several forums. These sights are set up that even at their lowest, I'm shooting approximately 1 foot high at 25 yards. And that's quite a distance. That means I'm probably a couple of feet high at 100 yards. So not really very well set up, and I don't know why they send a rifle out the door like that, because that's obviously not a variation between rifle to rifle. It seems to be that they just have not bothered to put the right sights on. Doesn't show you that they've done much, taken much care of what they're doing. So you can see it actually shoots fairly well. So even though I wasn't able to weld to the stock, there's a 240 grain Hornady bullets, and that's with little gun. That's one of my favorite loads, and that's at about 1,500 feet per second. That's fairly powerful, but I was aiming way down here, so this was actually about 10.5 inches high. So what do you need to do? You need to put on probably a higher front sight, and this is a nice little tool that I've been using for quite some time. You put all your distances into inches, the error, in this case let's say it was 10 inches, times the sight radius, which is 8.5 inches on this carbine, over the range, which is 900 inches, gives you your sight correction. And as you can see, as I've done this, we need about a .0945 change, or about 1/10 of an inch, a little more so that we have some elevator work on both sides if I decided to go with lighter bullets, and that's about the distance of 2 pennies. So for a precision instrument, that's actually a big difference, and they shouldn't have sent it out the door like that. So that's probably my major disappointment with this firearm. I cannot wait to get the full-length stock, because I think that will make a big difference. One of the things I do like, which some people don't like and actually replace, is this rear sight. One of the interesting things about a traditional lever action carbine is they use a half cock. There's the half cock safety. And there's 2 problems with that safety. One is that you can easily knock that with a piece of bush and not even notice it when you're walking through brush. If you have it hung over your back especially, and suddenly all it takes is another piece of bush to hit that trigger and the gun goes off and you kill somebody. That's not a desirable outcome. So this little safety here allows you to go from fire to safe. Now I can also unload this firearm. That's the only way to unload these firearms, is to cycle the action. And now, because it's unsafe, there's actually a safety here. The half-cock safety will not work when you're unloading, because right there's a moment here where all it takes is a pointed trigger. Now you always control the muzzle of a firearm, so if you're careful, you're still safe. But I like that safety device, and it's a very simple thing just to put that on fire and away you go. So I do like that safety. I think that's a good feature. I also like the saddle ring. Gives you a few little options of carrying that, of potentially putting a strap on it to carry it with you. And it's got that nice traditional look, and it doesn't rattle. It's kind of a rattle-free. You've got to really work it to rattle. This piece of leather helps you from making the sound of the rattle. So, new set of sights, and this should be a fairly good gun. My other slight disappointment is it really doesn't function very well unless you really snap the action, and I'll show you that in a little bit more in more detail. Thanks. Okay, these are dummy rounds, no primer and no powder. I wouldn't suggest doing this in your living room with loaded ammunition. I'll also put it on safe, just to be absolutely sure. So I put 5 rounds in the tubular magazine. It'll take 6. So how does it feed and function? It feeds pretty well as long as you snap. So if you're snappy, let's see how it does. So that's pretty good functioning. If you want to do it slow, they certainly do come back a little bit at times and come perilously close to hitting you in the head, but that's a part of the function of the rifle. So again, loaded through the loading gate here. If you want to do it slow and on an angle, you can certainly induce, there's a jam. You can induce jams. It seems to need especially a lot of snap forward. And if it's got the snap forward, functions. So when I first had it, I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's not functioning very well. It's because you really got to snap it forward. So again, snap forward. Let's see how we can do here. A little noisier that time, but it functions well as long as you snap her down. If you want to do this a little bit easy, and if you're a little sensitive with your equipment, you're not going to like the action of this. But it does work well when you make it snappy. And again, you can have up to 7 rounds with 1 round in the chamber, and you can get those rounds out, shooting from the hip in a couple of seconds, 3 seconds. It's kind of fun, not very controllable. I really think you need the full-length stock to make that into a nice little carbine that my son will be able to use very soon to go caribou hunting. So, nice little rig. It's going to be a lot better with the full-length stock. Thank you. Merry Christmas.